basically they're taking something that has an element or kernel of truth, and then they're embellishing it in such a way that it becomes easy to disprove the big story.
Be part of the simulation theory that has to do with aliens, or it could be something separate as well. Then there are governments that would probably know about it. And what I've really run into that's very frustrating for me is that there was a podcast I recorded shortly after I recorded with you last time that came out before yours. It was episode 266 and 267, but I had my friend James Fox in here. And then he
I think I saw this.
He brought in Jason Sands with him.
Yeah,
And nothing against Jason Sands personally. Really nice guy. It was nice to talk with him off camera. He served in the military for a long time. I thought he was a good dude. But to Jason's credit, he talked about all of the severe PTSD and mental health problems that has caused him. And when you listen to the stories he tells, I'll give my friend Darcy Weir some credit on this one. He was onto it on day one. It's literally like lifted from Gaia. Like, remember in Step Brothers where he's in the interview and he starts talking about his life, like living in Boston and solving equations on a board? Oh, you haven't seen this?
Do you mean Step Brothers, or was that in Good Will Hunting?
That's exactly the joke.
Okay.
So John C. Reilly is going to a janitor interview in Step Brothers in a suit. And he starts telling a story, and the interviewer is like, is this the plot to Good Will Hunting? And he's like, no. And he keeps going. And then they're like, I'm pretty sure this is the plot to Good Will Hunting. Yes. Like, that's kind of what happened there. And the reason it really warped me is because...
You mean, so the story that this guy...
That Jason was telling me, it's basically lifted from Gaia. That's all bullshit. Was proven... It's 6 Ways to Sunday that's bullshit. And the guys that gave Jason and said, you should look at this, are guys who have given stuff that's very interesting to me, evidence in the past, vis-a-vis, like from the government, related to aliens. And to me, it's created a bit of a House of Cards scenario where I'm like, if they just gave him Jason, what the fuck else are they giving us here?
Right.
So
is it all BS?
So we'll look at this in a couple different layers, but let's start here. If the government does know this stuff, and they're sending out people to talk to people like me, or, you know, other people with platforms, is anything that they agree to release publicly most likely bullshit?
Are you asking my opinion?
Yeah, your opinion.
Well, you know, my experience comes both from people that are in the public eye and then people that are not in the public eye, right? So, you know, people come to me oftentimes in confidence. They don't want the story to be told, or they don't necessarily want to be identified with them. Right. So I think they're doing like the best lies are ones that have an element of truth to them, or a kernel of truth. And so I think you may be seeing some element of disinformation or misinformation. I always forget the definition of those two.
I always treat them like the same thing.
Yeah, that's sort of what I do. Yeah, they're technically slightly different, but I always treat them the same. But basically, they're taking something that has an element or kernel of truth, and then they're embellishing it in such a way that it becomes easy to disprove the big story, right? Like the people who were talking about there's a Space Force, there's all this stuff. Like that stuff, I think is easier to disprove than, you know, a group of people had a sighting of a metallic craft. I mean, that's not at all unusual. In fact, I've talked to so many people that have looked up and they tell me they saw something that was solid metal in the daytime, in the middle of the day at 3 p.m. with blue skies. The chances that they're wrong about that are very low. Now, they saw something. The question is, what did they see?
That's right.
I think personally, you know, I would say I'm about 95% sure that there were reverse engineering programs in at least one of these major aerospace companies. Pick the ones we know about. Lockheed Aerospace, the Aerospace Corp, Northrop Grumman, right? All of these.
If that were real, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
Like, what are they saying about it that's like real versus not?
You know, because I met people who've worked in these companies, and they said, so at the very least, I believe these companies received materials, quote unquote materials, that they were trying to reverse engineer that were very advanced. That doesn't mean they received an entire UFO craft, a working craft. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. I don't have confirmation of a full working craft. What I do have confirmation of is materials. Now, the materials could be a piece of a hull, could be a whole craft, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm pretty confident that people are seeing things, and I'm pretty confident that we're trying to analyze something. That said, I also come to the conclusion that there are so many different aspects of this phenomenon. Some of them may be the standard extraterrestrial. Some of them may be more like these beings that have been around all along. Like in the Middle Eastern traditions, we have the jinn. And Jacques Vallée goes into this in his work, like Passport to Magonia. He's using some of the mythology from France and the British Isles and European mythology. But you have this in other parts of the world where they have these other beings, many of whom are sort of smaller and that exist, that can see us, but we can't see them. And then they can appear. So I also think there's an interesting aspect to this. Whether they're alien or not, what we're seeing are actual avatars of the beings themselves.
Avatars of them.
Yeah. So, Gary Nolan used this term recently in an interview talking about, are the beings that people are seeing are avatars? Now, he was using them in the context of the film. If you've seen the film Avatar, you have a physical body that's being controlled by somebody here. So still the same basic idea, right? In this case, it's a physical body. Of course, if we're in a simulation, then it's all virtual anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we're seeing a projection of these beings, and it's being controlled from this other dimension. To me, that's an interesting theory because it meets some of the guidelines of stories that people have been reporting for generations, of people coming through walls and being able to silence them using a secret wand, for example, paralyze them that way, and then take them into the world of the Fae in the British Isles or the world of the Jinn, and do all of these things. So that's another element. So I guess, I've kind of gotten a little far afield from, I think, your original question.
No, it's okay. Keep going.
But I think that's an interesting element to explore, is that we are seeing beings that could have their own version of the simulation, or they could be actually here. We just can't see them. So it's very possible in a video game, you can have people there that can see you on their screen, but you can't see them. So we do this in video games all the time, depending on, who has what capabilities, or what, like a super user might be able to see everything that's there. But your ordinary users, which is like us, we can only see things at certain times if they want us to see these things. And this ties to all kinds of high strangeness.
If they want us to see things.
If they want us to see them.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.